Hey guys, back again for another Wine Amongst Us. I have a new guest here. We have Mario here. He's going to talk about his business, what he does, his hardships, his accomplishments, things like that. And also, just a reminder you guys can ask questions, not just me. If you have questions for him, it's okay. Go ahead and ask. So, Mario, so what's your business? What do you do?
All right. So, how everybody doing? My name is Mario McLean. I have a number of hats that I wear. The business that I am looking to just get back on the ground is the speaking business. Right now, I'm in the process of building my speaking platform. Besides that, I'm an author. I have my own podcast titled Mindfulness with Mario. And I'm a district manager at Aldi, the grocery store. So kind of a little bit overview about myself and what I do.
Oh, wow. You got a lot. You got a lot going. I wasn't expecting all that. I just knew just the things that you have already told me. So you sound like me. I have 1,001 things too.
All over.
So what exactly? Let's start with one of your businesses. What's one thing that you want to start with? It's discuss like how'd you get into it, how long you been in it, things like that.
Yeah, we can talk about being an author. So I wrote my first book back in 2017. The title of my book is called Every Day is an Interview, and it was the reason why I wanted to write that book was because I had experienced 5 years in a foster care system, and I felt like when I was young and I was growing up, I always knew that my life wasn't similar to those who I grew up with. So I'm like, man, I just want to write a book, share my story with people, and then as I progressed and I kind of had this comeback story, I just felt it would be something, to put out into the universe. And on the flip side, I started getting into more speaking engagements and things of that nature. And so I was like, all right, well, when I get booked and I get paid to speak, why not have a product or a service that I can provide for, the guests afterwards? So that's why I'm like, I need to, either have a book or something else that I can offer them, just to add more value and also, income. Because at the end of the day, you got to make money out here. So
That's right. That is so true. I definitely agree with you on that one. I think that's where a lot of my stuff come from too, is the fact that I'm like, I just always want a steady income, not always having to like rely on just one. It's always good to have different, incomes and things like that. So what advice could you give for certain entrepreneurs that are like, going through the things that they're going through and trying to find ways to start their own business and aspects like that?
yeah, I would say for anything that you do, it's literally a matter of just starting, like actually doing and moving in the right direction. Like once I put out the book, a lot of people reached out to me and said, "Hey, I always wanted to write a book," and I mean, and they say, "What should I do?" And I just say, "Man, just do it. Like just start. Like in the process of writing a book, you're not gonna obviously accomplish it the first day, but it's a matter of okay, every couple days I might dedicate, to my journal or whatever the case, and then you're gonna look up and then you're gonna have a book. But I think it's just literally a matter of just doing it. I think a lot of times as people, we tend to want to know the end result before we attempt something. Like we want to make sure that if I do this, it's going to be a positive impact, or I don't want to go through any challenges or anything like that. But I think you get the true value of being an entrepreneur or starting your own business throughout the process, right? Like, think you might say, okay, by this date, I want to have this goal accomplished, and it might not work. But are you going to be willing to, put in the grit, and just, get whatever you want? And when you actually, you have a goal and you get to that end destination, the feeling is so great because like everything that you endured, all of your hard work, has finally paid off. So I think that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I know I want to results, like instantly. I had to learn patience and like wait, things are gonna happen. So I mean, I'm still freshly new, but I feel like every little thing that I do, it's like constant. Um, sorry,
We
my
good.
whole class. What happened? Where did my face go?
I think you probably press stop cam on your thing, maybe.
So, sorry, guys. Always, I can never win. I can never win. As soon as I get something right, something else always got to happen.
Did you hit stop cam or click on the cam slash microphone setting and probably just turn your video back on. Figure it out.
My bad, guys. I don't know. Like it literally just it just froze and then took me out. But I like exit and like re-entered, I guess. But if it happens again, like I said, it's not about me. It's about you and your business and what you offer and what you can, help us out with. um. So what was we on? We was on. What's the
Let's
last thing you
talk
said?
as being an entrepreneur or starting. It's just a matter of getting moving in the right direction. Just getting started for the most part.
Okay. Yes, I can definitely agree with that part because starting things. I mean, look, complications already. I'm like, it's my second time using this. I already got complications. I'm like, and I like this little streaming thing. So I was like, man. But what was the most important thing that you have learned during your journey?
The most important thing that I've learned during my journey is to not rush. Do not rush the process. It takes time. I think when I was in the process of putting out my book, my thought process was, all right, I was about to get married, so I'm like, I need to put this book out by this date because I need the money to help pay for the wedding. And I felt like I had a rushed product. And I looking back on that, although I went through with everything and made it work. I look back and say I could have definitely, enhanced the book or did better. But so like now that I have dreams of writing, extra books, and so now I know like what not to do and what to do more, a little bit more structured. So I would say, man, just pray on it. Everything takes time. Do not rush the process. Just literally grow through the process, and I guarantee you'll be happy with the end result.
Okay. You writing more books? Or can we look forward to some more books?
Yeah, yeah. So basically, I was in the process of writing my second book, and then with this COVID-19 happening, and I changed jobs, and so like my life has been crazy, and I had to put a lot of things on the back burner because I'm at the part of my life where my time is extremely valuable. Like I have not that much time, like being married, having a kid, working full time, doing things that I also want to do for myself, and it's just a matter of trying to figure out like what makes the most sense at the right time. And I'm the type of person where if I can't dedicate 110% to something, I'm just not going to do it because I don't like to have do anything that I do. So that's kind of like what I've been doing. It's just saying, all right, right now it's not the timing for this activity. I got to put it on the back burner, but I always will pick back up on it. So that's kind of how things have been for me.
Okay. Okay. So how is like your podcast and everything going? Like are you doing live podcasts? Are they pre-recorded? Like how can we like tune into certain things like that?
Yep. So my friend, he has his own podcast recording studio in Detroit, and so basically what I do is I was putting out an episode every 2 weeks on Monday morning or Monday afternoons or whatever the case. So I would go there, I would record like the weekend, and then I'll post it to Anchor.fm, and then it releases on all podcast streaming, so Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of those things. So right now I got 8 episodes, and pretty much I give you an overview of what mindfulness with Mario is and what was the vision for it. So again, one of my friends who went to the same high school with me, he reached out to me and said, "Hey man, just wanted to see if you was up for an opportunity. I know wrote a book or whatever the case, I think this would be a good platform for you. So I never actually thought about, having my own podcast at all. But I looked at it like, okay, I'm ready to tap back into the speaking field. This would give me great practice. And then I'm like, perfect. So we linked up. I figured out a game plan. And so the way my podcast works is I have it in three different segments. So I have a segment on business, a segment on fashion, and a segment on relationships. So I picked
Hmm,
these specific
okay,
areas.
I like that. Those
Yeah,
those those are important. All three of those.
absolutely. So the reason being I picked the three sectors were because those are three areas in my life where I feel as if I have been pretty productive and successful, and I just wanted to chime in. And it's catered to a millennial audience. So with the relationship piece, what I do is I have my wife come in on those, and we will either bring in like another couple and just kind of piggyback off each other and get their feedback. Anything revolving relationships. So, like my first episode in that segment was millennial marriage, and we talked about being married as millennials with another millennial married couple, and it was great. It's like great feedback, and I also love that I did the relationship piece because a lot of times you hear women talking about relationships. You don't really hear too much
Hmm.
perspective.
Never hear men talk, and if you
Exactly.
do, it's not the greatest conversation.
Right.
They're not the greatest conversation. So yeah, I get that.
Right. I wanted to do that segment because again, I think that was important for people to hear both sides of the story. And not only that, me and my wife, we've been married for almost 3 years, but we've been together since high school. So we're going on
I love it. High
it
school
being
sweetheart.
yeah, we met when we was 15 and 16. So I definitely had to do a segment on relationships for those reasons. Business, just because I'm in business. I got my MBA from Norfolk University. I got my bachelor's degree at Michigan State University, and so I'm big on business. And so during those segments, I reach out to other entrepreneurs locally within the area. I bring them on as an opportunity to provide just a platform for them. Get free promo and just figure out some of the opportunities that they have. Been through, or what encouraged them to start their business, pretty much like what you're doing actually today is like the purpose of my business segment, which that's been also a great segment for me. And then the last one is fashion. I do fashion because I personally enjoy dressing up. Like you can see, I'm at the crib, I got a blazer on. Like I love dressing up in suits. So on that
Me
one,
too. Love dressing up.
so on that segment, I pretty much make that whatever. Whether you're an entrepreneur, you got your own clothing line, I'll bring you on. We'll talk about that, or giving tips, of how to dress or where I shop at. A lot of people say, "Hey man, where you get all your blazers from?" So that was my purpose of that. What I would love to do to kind of expand the show because I have took a bit of a break, and like I said, with everything going on, my new job, like my schedule is retarded right now. They say to me, I want to get back into that and start doing like live shows and things like that. But it's a great start, and I'm definitely looking forward to continue with people. Have been reaching out, and I've been getting great feedback on it. So I love the podcast, Mindfulness with Mario. Make sure y'all tap in, get caught up to speed. We coming your way with some more heat.
Yes, I like that. I like that. So I feel like my next question was gonna be like, what are the hardships that you've come across? And I see the pandemic. That's something that like hit you hard. Any other like situations or anything?
In general, like
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I would say for me, my biggest hardship goes back to like I mentioned, my reason for writing the book was just going through the foster care system. When I was 6 years old, I was placed in foster care due to both of my parents suffering with drug and substance abuse, and me and my sisters we were homeless at the time, and so that was a humbling experience. Like as you can see right now, we're still struggling as a black community in general,
Yes.
and so
Yes.
and especially being black, but as a black man, like you have to go through so many extra obstacles, and so like not having that basic, upbringing is crucial. Like what I'm saying, like my life could have went took a turn for the worse, but I was able to, keep pushing and made had a comeback story. And so that has always been, my grind, my self motivating factor to continue doing what I'm doing, because I don't take life for granted anymore after, experiencing being, at rock bottom. So that, I would say, has been one of my hardships. And then, like, right now, I wouldn't say that the pandemic is a hardship. It's just a matter of I have multiple life changes at one time. Like I mentioned, with changing jobs, got married young, had a kid, working full time, and you really do not, like, you can't move how you used to move, man. Like, it's crazy, and it's difficult. Like, you have a lot of, entrepreneurs right now who don't have kids, and right now they're in their bag, right? They grinding. Hey, y'all got to do this, because from their perspective, they think that because the world stops, everybody else stops. But you got other people who are still constantly moving forward, but they also have other obligations that they're responsible for. And so that's kind of the area where I'm at. It's like, dang, I also want to continue to move forward, but I gotta, I have to do it more strategically, as opposed, I can't just get up willy nilly and move anymore. So that's one thing that I'm working on. But I think it's just a matter of, keeping keeping your eye on the prize, like seeing the big picture, not looking at anybody else's situation and comparing it to your personal life. And I think just having a positive attitude, and at the end of the day, you will definitely get what you're looking for.
That's good. It's so crazy. Think like most of our black communities, like our generation, our millennials, however you want to call us, like I feel like we all our starting story is the same. Like I mean, I went through the same. I didn't go through foster care, but I wasn't raised by my parents. My mother was a drug addict, alcoholic, things like that. And I'm like, it's crazy. Like we have to do the change. Like they've already passed. Yeah, they can help support, keep us going, but it's like sometimes I'm like, I don't look to blame nobody, but it's like their generation is like the kind of cause in that we have to do the change now. Because it's
Exactly.
like so many people during that time, it's crack epidemic and all those drugs that were like, things like that. And the accessible to have the drugs and the alcohol was so easy for them. I remember
Yeah.
like stories the parent go like send their kids to the corner store to get them the cigarettes and stuff. And like, what? You can't do that nowadays. You send your kids to the corner store to get, they gonna be like, ID, excuse me. Like, so it's just crazy. Like, I just love hearing certain people's stories. I'm like, I can usually always relate. Like, I've been through so much, and I can agree with like that's what's gonna prosper you. That's gonna make you work a little harder. It's gonna make sure like you already felt the bottom. Now you like you ready to feel the top. You're trying to be on top of everything.
Yeah, man. I look at it like, the fact that I've, made it through that process, I literally feel as if I can do anything I put my mind to, and that's the mindset I carry. And I think that having that in my back pocket, like, nobody can stop me. You have people who didn't go through what I did, right? They grew up with both
Mhm.
parents in the house, and they use that for granted. And they find out later on in life that they don't have the soft skills to keep progressing, or whatever case, because they're so used to having that safety net, where they don't really have that grind. And personally, I'm glad I went through the process. If I could start all over and do it again, I'd go through
You
it
do the same way. I'm like, we saying the same. I would do the same. I wouldn't change nothing. I'm like,
again.
it's what makes you who you are today, man. Like people, it's so crazy because people be like, "Oh my gosh, Sherday, I can't believe you're doing this, this, and this as a single mother." I'm like, listen, that's my motivation. That's my hustle. Like, I don't look at it as me doing X, Y, Z, A, B, C. Like, I'm looking like, listen, I'm trying to build something for my kids. Our past generations, they ain't do what they need to do. It's okay. There's always years and time for improvement because that's what we're going through right now. But it's like it's us having to teach our kids what needs to be taught so that we can make these changes. So I agree. I wouldn't change nothing,
Hey,
like
kudos,
nothing.
kudos. I did not know you were a single mother. I tell my wife all the time, man, being a single parent is a task. Like, even when she's going to the store and I gotta watch the baby for, man, it's great.
You're like, oh my gosh, when's she coming back? When's she coming back?
No,
But yeah, man. I mean, a lot of people would never know I'm a single mother unless you personally know me because I go so hard. Like I'm not lenient. I'm not like chilling, like don't get me wrong, I like take my vacations and stuff, but I mean, I go hard for exactly what I want, how I want it. I also comes with a little like I have a little OCD and stuff, so I gotta make sure like things is intact and how I like it. It kind of drives my kids crazy too, but it is what it is. But um, but yeah, thank
That's
you. Well,
awesome.
I
I
appreciate it.
all others have superpowers. Like once I seen
Yeah.
my child give birth, I'm like, hey, all women are superheroes.
I'll take it. Sure, I'll take it. I definitely would. I definitely would. What is something that you wish you would have known on starting your journey as becoming a business owner? What is something you wish you would have known from the beginning?
Something that I wish I would have known. Um, I think you don't have to have all the answers to get started, or necessarily all the money to get started, because in everything that I do, I might have did not know what the end result was going to be, had no clue of how I would accomplish it. But I literally think when you continue to push forward, people will come into your life, resources will come into your life that will help you. And once they see that you're motivated about something, they're going to be even more motivated, and they're going to be
Mm.
pushing for and helping you. And I've seen it come full circle, like in a process, like I mentioned, when I was writing my book, for example, I did not know. I mean, I figured it would cost money, but I didn't know how much money it would actually cost. And so, I was looking to create this product to make more money, not spend money on the product and essentially lose money. But like once I actually went through that process and I had my book launch, it was amazing to me to see like how many people were buying like extra books. And then I was doing through the Square app, so people was tipping me extra. And I was like, man, I remember going home. I had threw all the money on the bed, and I was like, wow, this is great.
That feeling that like, man, I did it. Like, man, I know what you're talking about because I'm like, I'm 6 months in and I'm like, dang, like maybe I should never spent that money on that or whatever. But I mean, I'm learning. I'm figuring things out. So I definitely agree with the whole not having to have the money to start, but just having the ambition to, you might be in a little hole for now, but have that ambition to, push yourself, make those goals to accomplish them. Because I mean, I can just imagine how you felt after that. Because when you accomplish something, man, like, because like during the time you're like, oh, I don't know, like you're nervous, you don't know, but then when it's ended, you're like, man, I did that, like I did that.
It's the fear of the unknown. Like literally right now, being in a job transition, I'm kind of in that back in that space where I'm questioning myself, like, man, did I make the right decision? I don't know. I went from knowing all the answers, having all the answers, to now I have to learn everything. I feel stupid. I'm making mistakes. But I think at the end of the day, like once I'm able to master everything, I'm gonna look back and I'm gonna be thankful. And I think I either read this somewhere or heard about it, but I think we have to do a better job of understanding this is what we prayed for. Like, let's say 6 months ago, I prayed for this opportunity, right? And like when you're actually going through it, like you have to take that and run with it. Like, hey, this is what you prayed for. You getting everything that you said. So like this is where you have to, put in the effort and really make the best out of the situation. Because if you give up, it wouldn't make sense. Like giving up is never the answer. Like you know what I mean? Like
It's
you just have
not.
to figure it out.
It's not. So sometimes I'm like, man, do I want to? Do I want to? But it's crazy because the times when I think that I want to give up, another idea comes to mind. Like it's
Mhm.
weird. Like you're like, man, forget it. Like you dwell on it. You lay down, sleep, and you wake up, and you be like, man, hold up, I got an idea. Like let me write this down. Like man, because there's been plenty of times I'm like, man, I just want to give up, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to. Especially like I just want so much more for my business than what I expected. Like the business plan I had is business plan totally been revised, changed, adjusted. I mean, and I know I'm gonna still go through that. Like I know, even though I was just telling my friends today, I'm like, I have finally like got my whole personal training, my CBD business, all that
Congrats.
down. I'm like, I'm ready for the next step now. I got to figure this out. But I'm like, at the same time, I'm not saying even though it's done right now, like I know I'm gonna have to revise it once you start, growing and getting bigger. You're gonna have to revise that plan. You're gonna always have to revise. So I'm like, I'm trying to be staying as organized as I could possibly be. 'Cause,
I gotta,
ooh, I'll
I
get
got
unorganized real quick.
to do. I got to get better, like just being more organized. That's
I'm
it.
telling you, like my one thing, what I learned is you gotta download for like social media wise, so you don't have to worry about that because depending on what type of business you have, you need social media. So this is one app, Hoot Hoot Suite,
Cool.
HOOT Suite.
Like schedule it. You can schedule when you want to post.
Man, that has been saving my life. 'Cause I'm like, oh crap, I gotta post. This is it, like everything. And then I had to learn like Instagram and Facebook. They have analytics, and it
Yeah,
would tell you when's the most time during the day that people view your stuff, so that
yeah.
you know when to post it. So I'm like, okay, those little things matter because I'm like, I didn't know like people. I literally was clicking something one day and I was like, what's this? I'm like, analytics. I'm like, okay. I'm like, oh, okay. It tells me when. Okay. I'm like, now I know when to post my stuff and when people are on my. So definitely that. And I found like, even like there's another app, repost app, so that like you can repost whatever's on your business to your personal without having to copy and paste. Like, man, like I have found so many resources. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still needing resources. Like, I'm always like, how'd you find that? What'd you do? How'd you do that? Like, cause I mean, you're gonna always need them as you're growing.
As marketing for a business, that's another job in itself. Like you either have to hire somebody to do that, and it takes too much time. Like even me trying to
It
make
does.
posts on my personal page and my business page, I'm wasted an hour in the car trying to put all right, this picture don't line. All right, let me go back, exit out. It's too much. It's too much. It's another job.
It
Can't
is.
do
I be telling my friend all the time. I'm like, man, I just need an assistant. I'm like, just for my social media, just for media part. I'm like,
it.
I can handle everything else. But I'm like, this social media stuff because there's little tricks and stuff around it, and I'm like having to learn that. But then I had a really good meeting with somebody that really like flipped my world upside down when it came to my business. And she just her little that one thing she told me, she was like, Sherday, I understand that you want an assistant. That's one of your goals that you want. She was like, but you got to learn everything first because when it comes time that person not doing a job and you got to fire them, what you gonna do? Do you know what they've been doing? Do you know how you gonna do it? So I'm like, I guess I got to figure this out. I'll
Right.
learn it, and then I hire somebody. But I'm like, it's so much, especially. And then she's like, you got kids, and my kids they're 6 and 7. But I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, I'm waiting for they like 10. When they become 10, 11, listen, they my assistants. They don't know it yet, but they gonna get paid for it. They about to learn how to have a real job, how to do things, how to run a business. That's
Right.
my goal. I want my kids to know like you can be your own boss because that's how I was raised. Like my uncle used to tell me all the time, like be your own boss. You got the knowledge. You're gonna be a boss one day. Like just having that constant. I'm like, I gotta instill that in my kids because everywhere I went, I always acted like I was the manager. I wasn't the manager, but I sure acted like it. I came in when I wanted to come in. I did but the thing is, I'm a hard worker. Like I may come late, I may want to leave early, but my job is done. So that's how it always been. Finally my own boss. Now I'm like, damn it, can I just be a manager? Like, can we go backwards? Because I'm like, this is a lot. This is a lot of work, but I like it. I actually like being my own boss, especially now that everything's opening back up
Mhm.
and I have my studio open where I can train my clients. I'm like, damn, what am I gonna do for the rest of the day? I'm like, I'm so organized. So I'm like, what's my next step? I need to know what's my next thing I need to work on because I got all this time again. I'm
Yeah.
like,
You a full time entrepreneur? Do you have like a regular job and then you do your fitness on the side, or like that's solely what you're doing?
so my fitness business is my full-time job.
Okay.
So, but I also have licenses and certificates in my health field. And so I've like done CNA. Like that's one thing I always tell myself I always have a job. My thing is I say this as humble as possible, but I always want to feel like a job needed me before I needed this. So I made sure that.
Hmm.
So straight out of high school, I went to college for a year. The college thing wasn't for me. So I'm like, okay, well, let me go ahead and see what I could do. So then I went to hair school, got my cosmetology license. Wasn't enough. Just wasn't enough for me. So I'm like, well, and then I just had my first daughter too. So I'm like, well, I kind of need something where I have a 9 to 5. Hair I could do whenever. That's a whole nother entrepreneurial job, career. So then I went and got my CNA. Moved to Texas. I'm from upstate New York. Moved to Texas, got my phlebotomy, got my medication aid. So now I'm in nursing school, but everything's online.
Right.
So I mean, I'm pretty organized with school to the point where like I get that done. So I'm like, okay, well, what do I need to do for my business? What do I need to fix? What do I need to figure out? So, I mean, there's other things I could be doing, but I'm trying to stay so focused because I noticed in the beginning of my business, I was still working because I like more private care. I don't really like being in nursing homes and hospitals. I don't got time. I don't got time for other people's attitudes. That's just my thing. I'm a people's person, but when you ain't doing your job, that pisses me off. And I'm very vocal. And I would tell you when you treating somebody wrong or you doing somebody, I'm gonna let you know. And and I don't care what your job description is or what your title is, I'm gonna speak on it. So
Hmm.
I haven't had good intentions with the higher up people, and not in a bad way, because I'm still very professional. I don't cuss nobody out or nothing. I'm still very very professional. Because that is gonna be my career later. So, but that being said, like I don't like people being mistreated. That's
Hmm.
like my biggest thing. Like I have people be like, "Oh my gosh, Sade, you so mean, you so blunt, you this, you that." But I'm like, I have the biggest heart. If anybody know me personally, I have the biggest heart. Like I'm always wanting to help somebody. I'm always wanting to do something for somebody. So every little aspect in my life, every license, every career, any type of business I do, is gonna always evolve around helping people. Because I don't like people, but I like helping people. I like being there for people. I love giving people resources, and that's just me. So I mean, kind of how it comes. But as far as job wise, I'm full time in my business, but
Yeah,
I need to
let me ask
find a little something in between.
So I definitely right now, my focus is I'm gonna get all the information I can out of corporate America. I'm gonna run some get all the info in another business and kind of use that to create my own business. But one thing when you make that shift from having that quote unquote 9 to 5 and solely running your own business, does that not scare you? Like you know how right now you getting the checks are coming guaranteed. How does walk me through that? Because that's to me, that's my fear. I need that liquid income, man.
So what I did when I started my business, and I do this every year. I do this every year. People they get a tax return. You
Mhm.
know those people that like to blow their money
Yeah.
and buy X. No, I don't do that. I literally pay off my bills. I go put stuff in the savings. I do every like I literally because I feel like if all those are done taken care of during the year, I can go get my hair done. I can go buy clothes because my household is good. My household is good. Like I don't gotta worry about oh crap I didn't pay this bill or like oh crap like that's what I do. That's first thing first. Now once that's gone, because tax money don't last forever. So once that gone, every little so I have health field, I have my business. Now I have my business and then hair. So before I had my business, I just had hair and health field. My hair money was my save money. That's my side money. That's money I don't really touch unless I needed it or whatever it was for. So that, them add up. Them numbers add up. So eventually you have a nice little savings. So come this year when I didn't get the dream job that I wanted as a fitness trainer, I was like, what am I gonna do? And I'm like, do got a good savings. I've been wanting to start a business. So I was like, let me go ahead and just start my business. So in the beginning, literally, it was so weird because right before the pandemic hit, where everything was shut down, I literally just quit my job. Just quit my job. So I was like, oh shit, did I do the right thing? I was like, oh, like I mean, I was like, that first couple weeks, I'm not gonna lie, like I wasn't that fitness trainer you want to really look at. I'm like, I was eating my feelings. I was like, listen, I truly had the quarantine 10. So but it was just more of like, I was so worried. Like, it wasn't the part that I couldn't get a job. It it was so worried like, did I make the right decision? Like, did I do? I still have kids. I still have to take care of them, make sure they're good. So it was just like, man, was my decision the right decision? So then after my 2 weeks of being in my feelings, I'm like, let me get back on track. So I literally sat down for a whole week. Um, Not even gonna lie, I neglected any of my children's schoolwork. They did their assigned 2 assignments because we were doing work every day. They only needed 2 that were due at the end of the week. But that week I was like, listen, like right now y'all can't bother me. Y'all have all the toys, y'all have all y'all snacks. I will make y'all food. So I was like, right now I got to get a plan. So when I did that plan, it also involved another savings. Like, okay, well, if I'm bringing in this much, I'm charging people this much money, but my bills cost this much. Well, then I need to make sure I have this savings before quarantine ends. Because I was like, when quarantine ends, I don't want to have to go back to work.
Right.
Because I'm like, I don't know. My biggest thing was being a single mother. This is the first time I actually spent the most time with my kids. Like my kids know me as putting them to sleep and that's it. Like that's it. Like I take them to school, pick them up, feed them dinner, and they're in bed. Like I didn't get that much time with my kids, and that was another thing. I'm like, after this quarantine, I didn't want to go back to that. I want to be more involved in my kids. I wanted to be able to do more stuff. So how was I going to do that? I had to start another savings. So um, little things like my CBD company. That's like basically I always try to find another side hustle, another little. Now my money ain't illegal. My money's legal. It's just not. Or maybe I shouldn't say this, but
Yeah,
you know what I'm trying to say. Everything is not counted for. Let me just say that everything's not counted for. So that's basically how I did that. Because a lot of people they ask me, and I'm like, I'm a very straightforward person. Like if we weren't on camera, I would actually tell you in depth what I do. But I'm just like, my thing is like sometimes like no, not to bring up the whole situation that we're going through because I have friends of all color of all race, but when white people, do you really think they climb to the top with every little penny being written down on a piece of paper for the IRS? No. You know they did shortcuts. You know they did shortcuts. So why does it feel like I have to feel bad that I had to take my certain shortcuts to get where I want to be with my business? And that's how I look at it. It's not illegal. None of the money I'm making is illegal. It's legit. Trump is just not gonna know every little cent and penny that I am.
hey, my mom.
It's, that's just how I look at it. But that's you asked, so now you know. Like everything I always find a side hustle where I can save that money. Just know that. I always find I have my legitimate stuff, but I always have something, where I could tuck off for emergencies. And then
I got
also, what really got me started is Dave Ramsey. You know Dave Ramsey. Okay, so Dave Ramsey, his 7 steps, that's what got me started. When he acknowledged that credit scores don't matter, nothing matters if you got that cash. Because at the end of the day, that's all people care about. If you got $100,000 of cash, you want to buy that house, but you got a second credit score, what you think they're gonna do? You gonna think they're gonna deny that $100,000? Nah, they're gonna sell you that house. So that's how my mentality is. My mentality is everything should be cash. Everything should be legit. Everything that's my motive. So as long as my businesses and everything I do is legal,
right.
you know, but I'm not gonna lie, even though I may not do the proper steps, I still have it counted for. Like I still have sheets and spreadsheets of counted for. Cause I still want to know how much I'm making. Like even though it's something on the side, I still want to know what my revenue is. I still want to know how much I'm bringing in on that at that part of that business that I'm trying to do. So
That's
just
awesome.
find some ways. That's all I say. And you married, so
Hey,
just do it the right way. That's all. Because I mean, everything I've done the right way. I just didn't. You know what? Matter of fact, didn't Trump owe mad taxes? See,
mhm.
I'm like, hold on, Trump owed mad taxes. I bet you he still didn't pay them damn taxes yet. So that being said, but I literally, I'm very originally what I went to school for when I graduated high school. I went for criminal justice.
Okay.
I'm not a political person. I do not like politics. I didn't know, you're in high school, you're graduating. I didn't know that it was going to be all these politics and things. I just wanted to help my people in the courthouse get off on things that they know they were wrongly done for. Like that was my biggest thing because I at that time I was dating somebody that a lot of things that was happening to him that they weren't justice. They weren't like they
Yeah,
were really messed up. So that kind of was like, eh. But then when I went to school and taking them classes, I was like, uh-uh. But I always knew I had a business aspect. So then I switched my major to business. So taking those financial classes and so it just kind of all just played and then reading certain ways like Dave Ramsey's books and all these other I'm like, okay, well, I see. And then like a lot of my people in my family are entrepreneurs. So seeing how they run their stuff, how they do their stuff. So I just found the ins and outs, figure
nice.
things out on my own.
That's great.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think. So during your time of everything, what is something that you have failed at? It doesn't have to be like a failure. Like, but what's something you failed at and you found ways to get around it in the upbringing, what the situation was.
Can you rephrase that for me?
Okay, so if something in it, whether it's podcast, your book, or whatever, something that you have failed at, that
Mhm.
something that wasn't accomplished the way that it was supposed to be accomplished, but you found ways around it to make sure that it did get done, or that you found an outlet for it to be done.
Okay. Yeah, so I will say, in the process of me transitioning jobs, I also had became a career coach on LinkedIn. Through I partner with one of the guys who I met throughout. I'm on his leadership speaking tour, and so one of the guys he has his own career coaching platform. And so, he told me about the opportunity. I said, "Hey, this sounds great. I do interviews at work. I'm big on helping people. It's just right up my alley." And I was doing the career coaching. I was pretty successful at it. And then once I started my job, I didn't have the time to do it anymore. And so, he would reach out to me. He would say, "Hey, man, what's going on? What's up?" And I just didn't have the time to dedicate to it. Like I said, I put it on hold. And so I think it was a matter of sometimes, people try to force, or not necessarily force, but they push their vision on you, and I think it's difficult. So like for me, I'm always a person where I know what I need to do, I'm going to be always move in the right direction. And so I think that was a matter of me not under like just doing too much. Like I have a tendency to do too much too fast. Um,
After I just said what I said, you think you did too much?
And so I think that was a matter of it was something that I wanted to do. Was it the right time? And no. But at the time, I'm like, sure, yeah, I can make some extra money by doing something that's simple, like pretty that comes easy to me. So why not? So I think the learning experience I got out of that was you really have to move strategically. Like every good idea, you don't have to act on right away, but just make sure it got to aligns with your the way you're currently moving in your life, right? Like I mentioned, I got all this stuff going on. No, I definitely shouldn't, what I'm saying, invested in it. I should have, you know, kept kept everything more structured, and that was a learning experience for myself. So I would definitely say timing is key in whatever you do. Like you really have to make sure that the timing matches, and not only the timing, it has to match your particular lifestyle. You cannot compare your life to other people's life. Like I say that so much. Comparison is the thief of joy. You're gonna look at somebody else's life, you're gonna get upset, and you're gonna start making, irrelevant decisions on your personal life that's gonna have a huge impact on you. So that's my advice on
Wow. I can agree though, because I do too much, and my friends, I have some really good supportive friends. I don't got that many friends because just my personality. I guess I'm too mean or too blunt. But my friends tell me like they are wonderful. They support me so much on all the decisions I make. And I come up with a lot of ideas that I be thinking is thebomb.com. I be like, let me tell you about what just popped in my head. And they be like, that is a good idea. So trying to learn not to, like you just said, not to act on every little thing, that has been so hard for me because I'm like, I just feel like I could do anything. I can do anything in the world. Like I have come across so much stuff. I have so many careers that I can take in different directions. So it's like, how come I can't this idea? Why can I not act on this idea? It's a great idea.
Mhm.
But like you said, it may not be my time and it may not be for me. Like that idea could be for somebody else or but I'm like, I don't want to tell nobody my idea. And then I'd be mad because when I do talk about my idea, our phones be listening. So then I'm like, now y'all know this was not nobody's idea. Now all of a sudden y'all giving me the little sponsor or whatever that my idea was. I'm like, but it's not technically my idea. It's not the detail. It's the aspect, but not the detail that I wanted. So
And you also you need friends that's gonna tell you no. Like you don't need friends that's always gonna agree with something that you say. Like you need that negative
my friends
friend.
don't be doing that. My
No,
friends, they'll give me advice, but they don't be like, no, not happening. Don't do it. They just be like, oh, well, if you think that this is not like, that's why I'm
yeah,
like, I've been trying to get in contact with this person I'm trying to hire for marketing and consulting. She a PR because that was my meeting I was talking about earlier. Like, she shut all my dreams down, like everything. And the thing is, she was like, they're all great ideas, Sherday. They're great ideas.
yeah.
They're wonderful. She's like, but you're doing too much. That doesn't even. She's like, and she kept asking me, how does that pertain to your business? How does that like, if I didn't have an answer, she said, throw it out. Like, if you can't answer that question, just throw it out. There's no point. So I'm like, okay. So that kind of helped me organize myself too. 'Cause that, like, it was like 3 hours. We were talking for three, and we didn't even know. Like, it was just so business oriented of great advice that we was like, dang, we've been here for this long. We gotta go. Like, so I mean, I have great friends. They give me the greatest advice. They support me, but I do know what you mean. Like, you gotta have that person that's gonna tell you, like, like that's why I'm
Yeah.
trying to build my team. I'm trying to build a nice little team because I be coming up with some good stuff, and
I mean,
I mean,
you heard of this website called Fiverr, Fiverr, but yeah, I would definitely recommend that when you're trying to build like a team. But you can pay people like overseas to do stuff cheap for dollars, like you know what I mean. So that's something I would look into. Like you mentioned, you need a virtual assistant or you need help with social media. Like you could pay somebody in Afghanistan, $30, $50 and you know what I'm saying? Like that's something that I learned too, because what I've been doing is I've been investing in, like I mentioned, how I'm doing speaking. So I done invested in, some speaker toolkit platforms and author secret platforms just to kind of enhance my brand. And those are like some things that they recommended, and I've also used them myself. And I mean, it definitely makes sense. I think the world that we're living in now, it's all about having the information. Like we live in an information world. Like a lot of people are
yes,
not informed and they don't know, like they're trying to do everything themselves, which you can't. You need a team to do anything, especially on a business scale. You have to have other people in that circle. And so I think it's just a matter of knowing like what outlets to use that makes the most sense for your business and actually pursuing
yeah. Fiverr. My sister told me about Fiverr like a while back because me and my sister are gonna go into business a little later, and she's trying to help me with certain stuff in my business. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll check it out. And so I downloaded it or whatever on my phone. And
it.
I'm one of those people, I have anxiety issues. So if it's too much, I just, like Pinterest, people be like, oh, go to Pinterest. No, that is so overwhelming. So that's how I felt with Fiverr. But another person told me, don't go on your phone, go on a computer and look at it. So I'm like, okay. So doing that, it was a lot more like
Yeah,
in a breeze. Because I'm like on my phone, I was like, I can't find because I think it was at the time I was trying to find somebody to make my logo. And I'm like, no, this is just too. I'm like, what? No, I'm like, I'm over it. I was like, forget it. So then, and also my biggest thing is, I did like Fiverr, but also I really do like trying to support like small businesses. So if I can find somebody who can actually make it for a decent price, but I have learned during this journey, people will still rip you off. Even though they're a small business and they want this, I have learned. I'm like, this guy, I wanted a drop back for the show.
hmm
He tried to charge me $175. And mind you, it's just simple. I just needed to say wine amongst us, real plain color. Like I didn't need it plastered all over. You know how some of them have like I just need a one big boom, 5 by 8. I don't need no huge. $175. I was
Correct.
like, I said thank you. Maybe I can support you in a different way, but that's just. And I feel like people, I get it because now that I'm a business owner, I get it. So I understand. But I'm like, this just sometimes the numbers just they don't add up. Like you can't sit here and try and have somebody want to support you and but you really trying to break their pocket. Like
The the thing I've been noticing when somebody has a high price and on their product and you can't see the value in it, I personally believe it's a matter because they have to pay so many people, like they're outsourcing a lot of things, and so they're trying to say they pay the person, but they don't make money for myself.
hmm
That's why that's why you might have those concerns because a product that costs a lot of money and you willing to pay for, you understand the value. Like you don't need to ask any more questions. You say, "Oh man, it's coming with this. It's gonna set me up for X, Y, and Z. I'm going. I don't care how much it costs. I pay $1,000, $2,000 because I understand the value." So I think any product that is high price and you have concerns about it, it just means that you don't see the value in paying for it. That's just from experience, from what I've been learning.
And I agree with you because right now that's I told you I'm working on my next step. My next step is trying to find a vendor.
Hmm.
And now that's what I said. I understand why people are charging what they charge because they're not they're going through a third party and another party. So they have to make sure they still make their money back. But I'm
Yep.
like, and I feel like that comes from people wanting to hurry up and just jump into a business
Yeah.
and not actually get the reason. Like me, like yes, I want this stuff, like the stuff that I'm trying to do, I want it like right now. But I'm like, I want people to know the value, like you said, the value. Like I don't want people paying 60, $80 for something that they can go on Amazon and get for $20. Like
Yeah.
no, I'm not. That's just not how I mean, I wouldn't even pay that. My biggest thing is, why would I charge somebody something that I wouldn't even pay? That's how I look at it.
The thing is
This
too,
is,
when you have a business or a product, people don't necessarily buy your product. They buy your personality. Like they say, man, this person is a genuine person. I'll support them just because they are who they are. Like you know what I mean? Like even if your product,
mm,
you can have a terrible product, but you can have a and somebody say, man, I ain't even gonna use it, but I'm here to support you. So
I'm gonna support you.
like, it works both ways. Yeah, I definitely when somebody
I didn't
got
look at it like that. I didn't look at it.
in a way.
I yeah, yeah. I can agree. I can agree with that definitely. Because I be thinking of certain things. I'm like, well, let me just help out. So that's why I've learned to, thinking for social media. I'll share your stuff. I like your stuff. If I wear it, I'm gonna promote you. But I don't know. I think I'm just so I'm one of those people like I guess I'm just straightforward. I'm so blunt. Like either I'm just not gonna like your product and I'm gonna tell you, but also at the same time I'm also tell you why. That's another thing. Like some people they wonder why their product isn't selling. Nobody tells them, or like their review just wasn't the greatest review or whatever. But like I genuinely like tell people like, hey, have you tried this or what about this idea instead of this is one of the reasons why I don't think I would go forward with doing this because of X Y Z. Like
Yeah.
most of my reasons why I'm not gonna buy your product because I mean you can be the sweetest person in the world, you can have the greatest personality, but if I don't like the product, I'm just not gonna buy your product. So, but that's the next step that I take is why I'm not gonna buy your product, or what can you do to change it, or I can help you because I'm the type of person like I tell so many people that I've come across that I see that like that drive and that ambition, and I'm like, why don't you start your own business? Like, listen, I'll help you. Just give me 2-3%. Like, I'm not a person. I'm not a person where I'm just gonna take. Like, no, just break me off a little something. I ain't asking for much
Right.
and I'm gonna help you. We gonna get this done. We gonna get this started. Like right now, I'm trying to convince one of my good friends to start her own like channel for cooking food because she cooks really like I always tell my clients I am not no like strict diet eater. Like I don't even use the word diet. Like I don't believe in a diet. You eat healthy. You eat proper. You eat what you're supposed to. Your nutrients that you're supposed to be eating. So that's what I advertise. So the things that she cooks, they're very good, high, good. protein, not right amount of fat, carb, like they're good meals. So I'm trying to convince her to do stuff. So I'm like, listen, this is how I'll do it. I was like, how about in the beginning, I'll claim it as, you coming with me, doing my thing. But eventually I'm gonna make you do it by yourself. Like that's just the type of friend I am. Like I'm not gonna expect to have everything or you go 50-50 because I have no, like break me off. It's a one time thing. If you only want to have me a percentage, break me off a little something and I'm gonna still get you, help you where we gonna get to. Like
That'd,
I'm
that'd,
simple.
that'd be sweet if y'all partnered because, like, in the fitness, because you have that fitness piece, I see a lot of commercials where people are selling, like, the frozen meal prep meals and things like that. That might be a nice, something y'all should actually look into, like, seriously.
I'm just waiting on her. Hopefully. We doing something on Wednesday. So I'm just trying to, and I mean, I get she just had a baby and everything, so I get like her time and things like that. She has other kids, but she's so she's very driven. She's very like she's nervous, and I get it. 'Cause I was very nervous being on camera too. Like I was very like it's so funny. One of my old trainers had called me the other day, and she was like, "Sherday, I just want to tell you, I love you. You're one of the most closest friends I've had when I lived there." And
Yeah,
so she was like, "But I just gotta tell you, you got so much better in your videos because you used to be like And she's like, you could always tell you was nervous." And I'm like, because I mean, in the beginning, it's very nerve wracking for somebody to like be watching you. And there's nothing in this world like this one girl was like, just act like you talking to your girlfriend on the phone. I'm like, nah, it doesn't. Nothing really work. I had to get used to it. Like it was just something. I'm like, listen, you just gonna do this. We're gonna go right in. And then I learned that when I practiced what I was gonna say, it made it worse. It made
yeah,
it so much worse. Like, do not practice something that you're gonna go like it just made it so like very like I don't know. It made it worse. So now I'm just like I just get the ideas, go in, wing it.
yeah.
Hopefully it's good. If not, it's me. Everybody's not gonna have a perfect video.
Yeah, it's all about practice and repetition.
Yeah, but hopefully she's also in school too. But hopefully, meals would be something that she would get into. She does have like, and she eats anything. She eats anything. So
Mm.
I'm like, girl, you know how much stuff you can be making and doing? Like, I like. There's nothing I don't know that this girl don't eat. Like the stuff that she be posting, I'd be like, I don't know, but I know she's good with flavor. That's my biggest thing. I can eat anything as long as it has flavor. It has to have flavor. Like it can't just be salt, pepper. No, I need that flavor. I need that kick, and that's what she does. So like sometimes the stuff that she be posting, I'm like, I'm like, I bet you was good. She know how to cook. I'm like I bet you was good. And it do. It be good. So, but did you have any? I've asked all my questions. Do you have any questions for me? Anything else you want to say to the audience? Anything else you want to give advice for?
Let's see. I pretty my biggest question. I love asking people who solely say, "Hey, I'm done with work. I'm focusing on my own business." Like that's a big question that I ask is, like that process because when I get to that point, I know that's going to be something that I'm going to battle with. But you answered that question. So that was like the main question I have for you. For the audience, hey, just continue supporting Strip Fitness, support me as well. I do have a leadership speaking tour event. September 26th, I'm gonna be partnering with Sean Fair and Keon Clinton, and I'm also gonna have about 20 other speakers on the stage, and we're gonna be talking about all different range of topics, business, success stories, all of those good things, and just another way to get out there, promote ourselves. So definitely purchase your tickets, go on my Facebook page, and hope to see everybody there.
Where's it at?
So it's going to be at the Michigan State University Educational Center in Troy, Michigan, and there are also offering live streaming services now due to the pandemic. So if you're not comfortable in being in a group setting, you can purchase your ticket and be able to watch it on. on cam in the comfort of your own house. So no excuse.
Okay, okay. I might have to tune in. I'm trying to get out there. I'm like, shoot, I need to listen and see how people be doing stuff. Cause like my best friend, she did a speaking. She did amazing. I was like, dang, I didn't expect you to do that good. I mean, she good, but I'm like, you like she just it just flowed. Like you know, how some
Yeah.
people like they get up there, and it was her first time too. So like that's why I was really shocked. Like, dang girl, I was like, did you practice that? She was like, nah. She was like, you just feel it. She was like, you just feel it when you get up there. You feel it in your heart of what you need to speak to the audience. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm there yet. I
No,
don't know
you
if I.
practice, sure, but I'm a fan on speaking from the heart as well. Like when I graduated from Michigan State, I was our student commencement speaker, and I didn't have my notes. Like I literally memorized my speech, and I went up there, and I'm like, man, if I mess up, I don't have nothing to look at. So I had to be, what I'm saying, on my P's and Q's. But that experience in general, once I accomplished that, I'm like, man, I could do anything, and that's what actually opened up a lot of doors. And it's on being on a speaking platform is having that experience. So it's a matter of just putting yourself in those situations and just coming out on top.
Yeah. I mean, I am. That's one of my goals. I do want to be some type of motivational speaker, but like after I've accomplished some things, like I know some people are like, I go right in. That's just something. But me, I want more. Like I feel like if I was to do motivational speaking right now, the only thing I could tell is my story, like my background, like where I came from, the hardships. I had a great childhood, but very troubled child, very troubling, lifestyle growing up. So I feel like that's all I can really speak about in a little bit of my business. But I want to come with like real aspects of what.
That just
No,
took, just
no.
took what we just said. Like about it. Like you think that you're not gonna have nothing to say, but when you have that speaking event, every time you speak, as long as you impact one person's life, you have accomplished your goal. And that one person might say, "Hey, I want to talk to you about this X, Y, Z," and then now y'all create kind of like the food and the fitness piece. It's I'm telling you, everything that you do, you're gonna say, "Man, I want to wait until I got this under my do it." Like literally, even in speaking.
uh,
Like the speaking tour I'm on right now, I've met, like I said, I met the career coach. I've met people who have helped me with my develop like my one pages and things like that. But the day of when we had auditions, I did not have a speech written. I'm like, man, I'm about to walk out here. I do not want to get up on stage and embarrass myself. And I was this close from leaving that room and just throwing everything away. And the fact that I actually kept through and went forward with it, like that's just a testimony in itself. Like literally, just continue pushing yourself in the right direction. Whenever you are uneased about a situation, I think that's a good thing because I think the reason why we are uneasy is because we really care about not messing up or not making a mistake.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
a lot that goes into it. Like you actually care about the work that you're putting out, and I personally think that's a good thing. Like I'm a believer in getting people to believe in themselves, even in the midst of the unknown. Just because, like I said, like I know what I've done lived through, not having all the answers and not having all the resources, but you find a way out of no way by pursuing, and that's I'm gonna preach that story until I can't preach it no more.
Oh yeah, okay, okay. Because that's definitely one of my things. I do want to be some type of motivational speaker. Just as far as like growing up, certain people that I've engaged in, it just like when I tell people my stories, they're like, "Oh my gosh, like you need to talk about that. You need to like, there's people out there, and like, how many people you would motivate." And I'm just like, that just wasn't like my thing. But now that I've like came across so many people, I've talked to so many people, and like, I'm like, you know what? I think I want to get up there and speak. But I mean, you already clarified that I should go in and do it. But like I was before, I was like, nah, I just wait and wait for my time. Let me do a little bit at a time. But now I'm like, 'cause I'm like, I'm gonna be on my first podcast in July, so I'm like, whew, that's like my first like outside of my business, first thing I'm gonna be doing for my business. So I don't know, I'm a little nervous about that. So But it is. But I'm excited. 'Cause I'm like my first like. Uh, Still nerve wracking. Even thinking about it. Like, and I don't even know what the topic is gonna be about. She ain't telling me all that yet. So
I'm
we
sure
just both it.
we had I think a comment popped up. There's
Even though Hardships make you who you are, it's a juicy part of the story, and then believe it or not, your story inspires others. Oh, that's one of my clients. She's so amazing. She's so sweet. My That's one thing. My clients are so amazing. Like this little cup I've been drinking. They made me this cutest little cup. Wait, where is it?
I can see it, tears of my
Wait, where
heart.
is it? It says "Tears of My Client," and then it has Drip Fitness, and then it has my name.
Oh,
I'm like they gave it to me yesterday. We went to we I try and do like a my clients are family to me. We did like I call it family gathering yesterday for dinner. And like they surprised me with that. I'm like, you got like they're so especially like I always feel like I'm not doing enough. So
yeah,
when they show me or they tell me, I'm like, oh my gosh, really? Like, because I always feel like I'm not. I'm new to this. Like, I mean, I've worked out. I've always been the trainee, not the trainer. So I'm like all new to this, and so then they do little things like that, or just like she with things that she say. Because I actually worked with her too, not just trained her, but I worked with her too, so I know her on a personal level too. So it's like those little comments, man. I be like, it just warms my heart. Like, man, like you said, at least you touched one person. I touched. That's what I did.
right. That's right.
But yes, I definitely enjoyed having you on here. Definitely great thing. I definitely want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on here, especially you're an entrepreneur, a black man at that. Like that's key thing that I truly appreciated because um, my main reason when I reached out to Will, I dominantly told him I wanted men. Um, for I mean this is before I mean the whole
Yeah,
George Floyd thing, but mainly before that situation happened was I feel like a lot of our black men in our black community they don't know the outlet or they don't know where to start or they don't know where to begin or they just feel like I'm a black man in America I would never be nothing. You know those negative thoughts. So me having more black men on my show to explain like they have a business they started everybody has a story. Somebody comes from somewhere, and they're gonna explain it. And they're gonna, tell their heart. That's why I always ask, what are the hardships? What are the things like that. So people know, like, it's not easy, especially as a black man. No, it's not easy, but it's possible. That's my big thing. It's possible for things like that to happen. So I definitely appreciate you being on here and coming and speaking about your business. I prayerfully hope that, you inspired some other black men to go ahead and start. Look at you. You have several things going on, but yet you still have a business. You have a family, you have a wife, you have a kid, you're still working, like, and doing your best. So it's possible, guys. It's possible. Like, it does not matter. It's a little harder, but anything comes easy. Is it really worth it?
exactly.
That's how I look at it. So definitely appreciate you being on here.
Oh yeah,
Um, Guys, I appreciate you guys tuning in, your comments, your likes, everything. I appreciate everything. And we'll be back next Friday for another special guest. And once again, Mario, I appreciate you joining in. Thank you.
good. Appreciate that.